From Studio 3 at Buzz TV, it's The Horse's Mouth with Tom McManus.
Welcome to Business Champions. I'm your host, Chris Fuda. Today's segment is sponsored by All Dry Services of Southeast Jacksonville. I'm here joining the bar with Byron, Boston, with Dynex Capital Inc. I think
you got it right.
I got it right. All right. CFM. Gentlemen, it is good to see you.
Pleasure.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks. So, man, you've been here for a while. So 21 years in Jacksonville, but you got a great story. So what brought you here?
Well, I came to start a company, and it's kind of interesting. Someone who lived here happened to be my division head when I first started on Wall Street in 1981. So he had called and said they were trying to create a business and they needed help. I came, wrote a business plan. We took the company public in 2004, March of 2004 on the New York Stock Exchange. So we did an IPO. It was a great moment. And probably 2.5, 3 years into it, we got a takeover bid from Wachovia Bank, and we ultimately sold the company. And then how I got to Dynex is one of the more proud moments of my life is a group of my shareholders in my first company that I started asked me to come to Dynex and help them rebuild.
That's so complimentary, right? Number one, it just reinforces, I mean, people said like you're great and you're successful, but the fact that you invite you back to the party reinforces that, hey, there's some secret sauce there.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
So what is the secret sauce? What do you bring in this company and why do they want you?
Well, I found my way to economics, and then I found my way to Wall Street and finance. And it fits me. So I'm a fish in water, is what I always say. So I changed my major senior year at Dartmouth to economics. And that was a big change. I think I had to spend an extra quarter at school, but I love economics. I still love economics today. This business I really call it like applied economics, but I went to finance straight from Dartmouth, straight to Wall Street. And I love what I do. I'm also in a servant leadership role because we're running a public company. We have responsibility for other people's money. So Dynex Capital, we sit between two important bodies in the U.S., homeowners and savers.
That's huge.
And in the entire housing finance system, only one person has money. That's the saver. It's his money. And we ultimately bring it through the system to lend it to the homeowner. And then someone has to manage the asset for the next 30 years if you're fortunate enough to get a 30-year loan. So we take on a great role, especially given my generation, baby boomers. It's huge. There's 8 billion people on the planet, an enormous amount of aging people all over the globe. They need passive income. At the end of the day, that's what REITs do. We generate passive income. There's a growing population that has a need for a company like Dynex in their portfolio. But more importantly, we believe in an ethical approach to managing someone else's money because we've watched over the years.
Watch the news.
Alone, or watch CNBC. What's the show? American Greed. And I watch the show to remind me that the type of unethical people that you can run into. But at Dynex, we're looking to take care of our shareholders' money, which is why I said we have become somewhat of a servant leadership job.
That's great. And you guys are, I imagine, national, right? I mean, your services,
Well, so at one point, Dynex made direct loans to both either consumers or commercial borrowers. Today, we have a portfolio of mortgage-backed securities, and those securities are simply backed by loans. They're more liquid. It allows us to manage our risk in a more volatile world than, let's say, 20 years ago. It allows us to manage our risk better by able to, we have more liquidity on our balance sheet.
So we're men of a certain age these days, not old, we're experienced. So for those folks, so I saw a statistic 2 months ago. They said 63 to 68% of employers do not want to employ kids coming out of college right now. They don't think they're employment ready. So advice for those in college, those coming out of college, what as they take a look at a career, what should they be doing?
So I do believe that in this, I have a son, and I'm telling my sons the exact same. You can gain a competitive edge on your peers. All right. So first and foremost, find and explore yourself. If you go into college, don't spend all your time with your friends. You've got to spend some time with yourself to explore what are your strengths. What do you really like? As I mentioned earlier, I'm a fish in water. I'm managing Dynex Capital. I love economics. I love finance. I actually love accounting.
Yeah.
And I love trading. I love trading and investing.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing this for other people, my shareholders.
Yeah.
So I'm doing something that I really, really love. And so I would urge the students, if you go into college, take your courses, but you also have to explore yourself for a career. Right. You should start doing that freshman year.
Amen.
Right? Freshman year, you start doing that. Learn the art of interacting with multiple generations, because you have these two bookends, Gen Z and baby boomers. And you got Gen X and millennials in between. But I'll say you're Gen Z, you must, if they learn the art of communicating with the other generations, there's so much experience here that they can gather to help them in their careers.
Yeah.
So my son grew up in hunting camp.
Yep.
And so from the time he was 7, 8 years old, he was interacting with adults. He was talking with my peers and stuff, guys older, younger, but growing people. So he had to learn how to communicate, like you said, across, not just with his middle school, high school friends, college friends, but he had to, so I think that was a great experience for him, just being there around other men, older people, and learning how to communicate.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's very, very important. And when I do sit down with our shareholders, I say, look, I'm a good employee. Yeah. I love what I do. I'm dependent on Dynex because myself and my other senior managers of our company, we all own a material share of Dynex Capital stock. We are a material amount of our net worth is tied up.
Right.
But again, back to what we like to do. And it's not only the finance accounting, but I also like being in the role of taking care of the savings. Think about Jacksonville. Yeah. An enormous amount of retirees. And what surprises me more and more is I meet someone that I know and they own our stock. And then they let me know, Byron, own the stock because you're there. That's a huge responsibility because they're not working now. Yeah. And if something happens with the company, they lose their money. Right. So I think this is a huge responsibility for me, for my team at Dynex Capital. We take it seriously. So it's similar. I played football all the way through college. Some guys like to play the game, and then other guys want to be the leader in a big moment. Right. So this is a big moment in history for managing someone else's money. And Dynex Capital is literally what we're
that's awesome. Story. Yeah, it's a great story. So how do folks find you and how they find Dynex Capital?
DynexCapital.com. That's our website. You can go there. You can get a complete picture of the management team, board of directors, our story, how we make money. It's all there. You'll see our presentations for investors. You can look Byron Boss up on LinkedIn. There's some things that might tell you a little bit more about my personal story, so you get more familiar. Smriti Papano is my co-CEO. She's on a LinkedIn, and then Dynex Capital is on LinkedIn, where you'll see some presentations and information that'll help you understand it.
That's wonderful. Thanks for coming in today to tell your story, not just your personal story, but the story of the company. And it's remarkable. And I agree with you. I mean, your house is like your biggest investment besides your marriage, right? So, and so, the fact that somebody that it's compelling, I could tell just through your emotions and your knowledge, like you really say and mean what you're saying. And the fact that you're really taking care of somebody's money, that's a big responsibility.
It's an enormous responsibility. And if you think about the downturns in 2008 or even 2000.com, thus the baby boom generation was working. So if they lost money, they were okay. Right. But if we have a downturn today, this generation is each year more and more
talking about trillions of dollars in the wealth.
That's exactly correct.
Evaporated.
And they're living off of it. Right. They're not working. Right. So we have a huge responsibility at Dynex Capital. We understand that. And as we want to be like, what's the phrase? You want to be like Kobe in the fourth? Yeah. Right? You want the rock? You want the ball? Yeah. That's what we say at Dynex.
Well, Byron, thanks a lot for everything you're doing. It's a real pleasure. It's good to see you.
Absolutely. For having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, folks. Hey, I encourage you to reach out to Byron Major and myself on LinkedIn, connect with us, and take a look at Dynex Capital, what they're doing. Wow, what a compelling story. I'm motivated. I'm ready for 4th of July weekend. All right. So we'll see you next segment. Roll of Gratitude.
My name is Todd Marshall, and I own All Dry Services of Southeast Jacksonville. We serve all of Northeast Florida. Every day our business is doing the more mundane, but yet sometimes catastrophic issues. These can be plumbing leaks, they can be sewage backups. A bathtub overflows, somebody leaves the sink running. So we have a 24/7 response. If you call us, you're going to get a live person, and you try to get out there as quick as possible so that we can minimize the damage.